Hey, happy Friday. Happy June the 5th. And I hope everybody is well. And today I thought I'd talk about hiring a new grad. And sorry about that. But I think I want to speak to the grads, and I also want to speak to the employers. So, a lot depends if you're a smaller concern or a bigger concern on how many grads and programs you may have. But it's something to consider, even if you're not a big hospital or a clinic or a corporation with many sites, even if you're just a individual employer, there are great reasons to, I'm using my visual aids, hire a new grad RN. And I think I just give you my 5 basic tips to both communities, to both the individuals seeking to start their career and get their RN career going, and to employers that traditionally are looking for people with 2 or more years of experience, whether it be in the specialty or not. So, so my first tip, or my first, the first bit of information I want to share with the group, whoever's tuning in, and please know, this is a live chat, that if you want to join me, you absolutely can. This is Rita speaking for Medical Jobs Channel. I am the nursing director here, and I work with my husband, Paul King. He is the inspiration for Medical Jobs Channel, which was formerly Gold Medical Jobs. And it is a unique way using social media for employers, healthcare employers, and healthcare employees to find each other. So for clients, for hospitals, for clinics, for long-term facilities, skilled facilities, surgery centers, you name it. It's a very, very, very affordable. I think it's something like $27, and you can list your jobs here. Recruiters, you should check it out. It is a unique and rapid way to find that next best employee. And so if you want to join this link, or you have any questions, I'm happy to. I'm here every Tuesday and Friday from 12:30 to 1:30. We're in that range. And you can ask questions and make comments as I'm speaking. And if I cannot or do not have the information, I will get back to you, because I am chatting twice a week, and I cover numerous, as many topics as possible, because healthcare does have that range, right? That we take care of people from their nose to their toes, and above and below, and inside and out, and mentally and physically, and injuries, etc. We talk about a lot. And so if I don't have the information for you, I will get right back to you. I certainly could email you, but normally I will bring it up in the next chat so that you can get your information. But how to join on this link and get your comments in is go to https://twice app.bilive.tv/3531/guest. Okay, so that's https://twice app.bilive.tv/3531 and then /guest. So I hope I hear from you. I've been getting a question or 2 or 3 each time since this this part of the broadcast came in. So I'm excited. Been waiting for months to be able to have that communication. It's just me here in the office. So I really appreciate that. Okay, why you should hire a new grad RN. New grad RNs, and most of them are coming out of bachelor programs at this point. Some may be in a program where they can opt out at their associate level and take the NCLEX and then continue on for the BS, but most are in a bachelor program right now. And so they've had probably a 4-year program, and the smart ones, the really smart ones and the ambitious ones, and the ones that need to make a living, are already working in a clinical setting. They may be working in home care. They may be taking care of one individual patient. They may have been doing it for the last year, 2 or 3, or throughout their education. Some of them are working as CNAs. Some of them are working in hospital settings. Some of them are working in doctor's offices. Some of them are working in skilled nursing facilities or even assisted living. So what does that mean? What does that mean, that new grad RN that worked as a CNA or a caregiver or an NA? That means they have developed interpersonal skills. That means they worked as part of a team, a healthcare team, and assessed and reported and were involved in different scenarios, right? Good, bad, or ugly. I mean, they may have been involved in a code. They may have been involved in a family conflict. They may have been involved in post-op. So they have the experience. They've been exposed to the setting along with their studies, right? They've developed interpersonal skills. They understand the hierarchy. You know, you go to your supervisor. You know, maybe that's the head CNA, or maybe it's an LVN, or maybe it's an RN. They know to use the chain of command. They know when they see a patient at the beginning of their shift, whether it be an 8-hour shift or a 12-hour shift, when they see their patient at the beginning of the shift and then mid-shift, something changes. They stop making eye contact, or their speech is garbled, or their blood pressure has elevated. I mean, all of these things are in their realm and what they encounter. Okay, so so that's my first tip. Consider that the RN grad you're seeing has some clinical experience and has provided a wealth of information, has been provided a wealth of information, gained that wealth of information that she will bring into her RN career. Okay, so that's my first tip. Why I think I would consider a new grad. Where's my cheat sheet? Okay, and this is a tip more for the nurse, but something else for an employer or a recruiter to consider when they interview this nurse is that she may have been kind of a serial volunteer, you know, he or she, excuse me. And you don't know, I'm not talking about a new grad being like fresh out of high school and onto the nursing track, and you're looking at a 21-year-old. Many nurses are people that switch careers, you know, that maybe went into another service, you know, firefighter or police, criminal, or a different science, and then realized they looked around, they talked around, and they went, oh, you know what? I think nursing's for me. I think that's, or maybe they went down a track for another healthcare position and worked with nurses and realized they wanted to make the switch. You know, maybe they were in radiology, or they were in one of the therapies, you know, speech or occupational, one of the physical therapies, and rehab therapy, and they decided nursing was for them. So you have different age groups with different experiences, and they may have been volunteering in a nursing home, in a clinic, in a hospital, and that they bring with them too. That knowledge, that experience, that one-on-one bedside interaction. So there you have another reason to consider that RN, and RN grads include all this in your profile. Absolutely include this. Okay, so another area, number 3, this is to the student too, but something I want the employers and the recruiters to know about is that in these bachelor programs, there's usually a preceptor that comes up in your junior or senior year, and you can choose. So some RNs, go into it knowing exactly what they want to do. They want to work with pediatric patients, or they think the ICU is for them, or the ER is exciting to them, or they want that med surg, that varied experience, or maybe they knew all along that they wanted to work in surgery. So when you get an RN grad, particularly a BSN RN grad, look at that. And to the grad, I say, good for you to do your research, to interact with your professors and your clinical instructors and your friends that are already nurses, and find out what's it really like in the OR. What's it really like in labor delivery? How do you leave? How do you leave if you're, on a 12-hour shift and your patient is transitioning? How do you feel about all these things? And did it fulfill what you thought it would be, and so forth? So that's kind of a real plus too, because now you're looking at a grad that had, okay, let's stay with L&D. This grad is applying to your to work in your L&D unit, and she has no work experience, paid work RN experience, because she just graduated. She just took the NCLEX and passed. But when you look at her resume and you speak to her and you ask the questions in the interview, you find out that she precepted in L&D and postpartum, or both, or one of the other. You find out too that she volunteered on that unit when she was a freshman, and worked at a CNA. Worked as a CNA with maybe in a nursery or whatever. So you put all these pieces together, and you find out that you actually have a new grad with something that they can bring to the table, with knowledge and experience that is going to be helpful in that chosen area. Another thing, I wasn't really going to list this, but I want to say RN grads, they are so ready. They have all that information fresh in their heads. They probably bumped up the studying, to pass those NCLEX with great grades and get their license. They are so ready to jump in and join your team and be the best. They really are. Their instructors have told them, when to ask questions, where they excelled, and a lot of them too have referrals from the professors. Really good idea to get clinical referrals. So while you're still in school, start talking to your professors and your clinical instructors and ask them, would they consider writing a letter of recommendation or a reference letter regarding, it may have only been 5 months that you were with them, but it may have been more. In a 4-year program, sometimes you revisit the same clinical instructors may be there that were in your 101 classes, your med surg class, maybe come back from med surg 2 or something. So great person to approach for that reference letter, and keep that with your profile and your oh, what is the word for it? Well, I'll just say your profile. Your oh my gosh, why can't I think of that word? Your cover letter and your, oh my goodness, I can't think of it. Your no, it's like a anyway, your profile, your personal profile, your work profile. Do add reference letters in there, and have copies that you can hand over in an interview. So there's that. Yeah, your volunteer information, what you precepted in, your CNA experience or your caregiver experience. All of these things play into making you a more viable candidate as a graduate. Okay, sorry, I don't have 2 years or 5 years or 10 years of experience. I'm ready now. I am enthusiastic. I am full of knowledge. I have applied some of it to a degree, to the degree I could as a student or as a CNA or as an LVN that maybe has gone up to the RN level. So there's a wealth of things to be looked at and to appreciate and to consider. 4, now the client may not like to hear this, but this is really important for the new grad. As you approach your grad and you get your license and so forth, I remember those days. I was a poor student for a long time, and I thought, oh man, it's going to be so great to get my own apartment and not have roommates and, not rely on my mom, and all of that, and my little allowance or whatever, just being poor for years while you're while you're a student. You're an adult student. We talked about that. You could be any age, but it's not easy. I mean, it takes a lot of time, not just the hours you're putting into your clinicals and your lectures, but the study involved, the research involved. Maybe you have that other job. So you've been really a busy person and really not making the income you would hope that could get you through what it takes to survive as an adult in the world. So I feel like I digressed there. Oh, so now it's time to apply for a job. And your dream job, let's say your dream job is L&D. And there are a limited number of dream jobs out there and a limited number of L&D jobs. I will say L&D, from my experience and being a nursing employer and being a nurse myself, the L&D nurses stay there. It's like airline attendants. They keep those jobs. That's what they wanted. That's what they're good at. And they stay in that field for a long time. So that's one reason. But the other reason, okay, I got to throw in a statistic here. Every year, X amount of RN grads, or every twice a year usually, there's X amount of RN grads, right? So back in the early 90s, that number got up to about 100,000. And then as we got into the early 2000s, up to about 2002, that number dropped to like the 70,000 range. I'm talking the United States. So the nursing shortage just propelled. It's been bad for a while, but you can see with a lesser number of grads coming into the field, how that put pressure on the system. So I'm happy to say that today, after about 2012 or something, it started to increase. And thank God. And that makes some other jobs I'll talk about later something to think about too for your part of your career. But anyway, so now we're up to close to about 200,000, I believe, in the United States. The last stats I had were not 2000. They were 2018 or 19. It was about 200,000. So when you're applying for a job, you're not the only one, right? And so here's the other thing. Some of the grads, men and women both, come out of school and don't leave their present job. Maybe they have a really great job with, say, an eye clinic, a university eye clinic, and they're hoping to transition from their tech job into their RN job. So they're hanging on to their job because they have bills, So, so that job you're applying for, maybe at that eye clinic, is you're competing with somebody who's already been on staff. So it's for every job, there could be 10, 50, 100, or 1,000 people for applying for that same job. Sad to say, but that's the world. So my recommendation is apply a lot, okay? You want L&D, you want an eye clinic, you want ICU, you want pediatrics. do apply for those jobs. Do apply in the town that you're interested in living or the town you already live in, but be broad. You know, go a little further, go another 10 miles, another 15 miles. There's so many nursing jobs. There's all the skilled nursing facilities and the levels of them, the memory care, the geri care, the geri psych, the rehab, the assisted living. There's just all these levels. Then you get to the next level, it's the acute, the LTACs, the long-term acute settings. Many, many, many jobs in that realm. In the hospital, many, many jobs there as well. But you want L&D, you want ICU. Make that your priority. You know, I'm sure you've been thinking about it through school. Like I said, getting that volunteer experience or getting that CNA or NA experience or LVN experience. Now that you're an RN, a lot of that can be applied. So apply a lot. Certainly apply to the area you want to work, but get a job. Do you know the average grad coming out of nursing school takes six to 12 months or more to get a job? A few years ago, it was more than that. Now it's a little better, but that's not what you want. You want to work as a nurse. You want to get your career rolling. So, and clients, consider these people. These are valuable people. And, you know, something to consider too is whether or not they have those reference letters from their professors and their clinical instructors and their maybe director of their program. Ask for a number. Talk to them. Talk to them so you can talk to those references and find out, are they critical thinkers? Are they always punctual? Do they get along with the team? What is their interpersonal relationships like when you've seen them in a clinical area? You know, gather that information. You'll be so ahead of the game. These are valuable potential employees. I'm speaking to you both, so I kind of, you know, mix it up. Okay, so I've given you 4 areas. I guess we are at the final area. The interview counts. And I interviewed many nurses and healthcare people in my career because I had a nursing agency for many years. And my practice was to have more than one interview because you really want to test the waters. And then I almost always hired with a 30 or 90-day stipulation. I ran a nursing agency for many years. Then I worked as a clinical instructor for many years, and then I had my own nursing career prior to all that. So lump that all together. A lot of interviews on both sides of the desk, actually. So so my practice as an employer, when I was employing nurses for my agency, was to schedule 2 interviews. And I'd usually let them know during the first interview that there would be a second interview. I didn't always let them know when we set up the interview that that's the way it would go. And, you know, if you have a really viable candidate, you can break your rule and you could say, I'll get back to you later today if the interview is in the morning, or I'll be getting back to you, or ask them to call you the next day that you were going to finish up some follow-up interviews, and you'd be making a decision shortly and they could call you back. But usually I like the 2 interviews. And here's my reasoning. Because people plan for their interview if they're really smart. They've studied it. They've studied how to present for an interview. Probably not a good idea to use the red feather boa around your neck. You know, probably a good idea to dress neat and conservatively. You know, a suit or, you know, simple, crisp white shirt and a black skirt or black slacks. Gentlemen, a lot of times you can ask, you know, I will be meeting you at your office. And what kind of setting is that? If it's a clinical setting, you don't want to dress to the nines, because everybody's in there in their scrubs. But you always dress neat and presentable. And a skirt, a blouse, you could go online and find out what to wear to an interview. But keep it simple, keep it presentable, and be punctual. Being on time, you're late already if your interview is at 10 o'clock and you show up at 10 o'clock. So being on time means being 15 minutes early. Do not be an hour early. That's annoying. People are busy, and that's just annoying. But 10 or 15 minutes early, absolutely. You can give yourself even more if you're driving somewhere that you have not been before. If you're in a new area that you're not that familiar with, you can do a dry run. And if you're very early, if you wind up being 30 or 35 minutes early, well, you don't go to the interview. You wait. You go 15 minutes early, because otherwise you're kind of a pest. Anyway, same thing, with your dentist and all that. These people are busy, but a few minutes early is always appreciated. So what happens is people are prepared for interview number one, and they bring their best self. They're well groomed and they're conservatively dressed, and they've got their materials, they've got their resume. Oh, resume, that's what I was thinking. There's another word. CV something. Anyway, they've got their resume and their references and their license and their credentials and their certificates, and they've practiced interviewing. They've been looking in the mirror. They've been practicing looking people in the eye. They try, like me, not to say too much. They are prepared. At the second interview, what I have found, and it doesn't matter if I'm hiring a professional or I'm hiring, or if I'm hiring office help, or who else did I hire? I hired home health. I hired nurse practitioners. I hired just pretty much the gamut, mostly RNs. That's mostly who I was hiring, because I was mostly staffing hospitals. But I did staff other areas, so there were LVNs and so forth. But regardless of the position I was hiring for, whether it was office help or a nurse practitioner and so forth, a second interview is a great idea, because do they present well the second time? Are they as prepared? Maybe the questions you reviewed the first time, they were more prepared for. They were job specific. Maybe the second time you're giving them scenarios. Now it's not only job specific, but you're giving them, here's a situation, and you let them fill in the blanks. This has happened, that's happened, the patient's post-op, blah, 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 and you get them to fill in the blanks. So it's always a good idea. Are they as punctual the second time as they were the first time? I've had this experience more than once, many times, that the second interview, they don't even show up. Did somebody else hire them? Or were they not really sincere about wanting the job? They could have called. So that's it. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking you really, really, really want to consider a new grad RN. They're ready. They're enthusiastic. You think they don't have experience, but look again. They've volunteered. They spent 2 years as a caregiver or a CNA or an LVN. The area that they're applying to, whether it's the LVN job or the pediatric job or the clinic job, the eye clinic, they've actually been in those settings. So you're really getting more than meets the eye. You're not getting an RN with no experience. You're getting an RN grad that is bright and enthusiastic and ready, prepared, eager, and might really, really, really wind up being a long-term employee that you're so glad you found. So I've had that experience. I hope you can too. There's nothing wrong with hiring somebody experienced or somebody that somebody referred. Absolutely. When you're hiring, expediency is great, and hiring the right person is great. Don't rush into it. You know, be prepared on your end for what you want. What I've said in some of my previous chats is that, oh, resume. Oh, my friend, I couldn't find the word resume. Thank you, Sue. Resume. Yeah. I did want that. No questions though, but thank you. Thank you, my friend. I lost my train of thought. That's what the questions do to me. They take me off track. Yeah. So, yeah, I've been burned on the second interviews, and that's why I think they're important. I wish you luck. You will be hired. You have value, and that's about it. It's Friday. I'm going to let you all go because I blabbed for long enough. I'll be back on Tuesday. I'm here every Tuesday and Friday between 12:30 and 1:30. And please send in your comments and help me think of words and questions, and I will get back to you. And have a beautiful weekend.